In this video, I'm gonna tell you and show you about the 7 fundamental do's and don'ts about the electrical connections. These consist about 90% of all of the electrical work. Once you understand these principles, you can assess any electrical connection, how good or how bad it is. Regarding electricity, there are 2 types of connections: electrical and non-electrical. If you are to connect an electrical chain, you need an electrical connection. The difference between those 2 types of connections is that in the electrical connection, the electrical resistance must be close to 0. With non-electrical connections, this doesn't matter. The main danger with electrical connections is the loose electrical connection. The loose connection creates high transactional resistance, and this creates high commutation currents at the spot of the connection. These currents create heating. Sometimes, when the electrical charge is high, this could lead to a fire. So, a bad electrical connection could set up your electrical installation in fire, which means it could cause your entire home to burn down to the ground. When it comes to electrical connections, the keyword is pressure. You can provide pressure by many ways: twisting, crimping, bolting, with springs, just to mention a few. You have to apply pressure on the connection. You also need to provide large enough contact surface between the connecting wires, and you need to make that pressure stay. Please keep that in mind. Whatever they tell you on the internet, if a connection is not made with enough pressure, it is not an electrical connection, and it is dangerous. This is perhaps the best electrical connection I know. I've seen installations that are over 50 years old, where the twisted connections are still operational. In most cases, this is an extremely ugly connection, but it is safe and reliable. Besides, once you make it, you hide it in the wall, and it stays there for the next few decades of years, silently doing its job. It has some limitations, of course. You cannot twist safely more than 3 cables. It becomes physically difficult to do that. For the same reason, it is not possible to twist cables larger than AWG12 or more than 4 square millimeters in Europe. Crimping is yet another way to make a good electrical connection. The applied pressure there is really high, and the connections made by crimping last really long. Crimping is the main way of connecting thick cables. All connections within the city's electrical network are done by crimping. Of course, after crimping the cable shoes, you need to connect them with bolts. But bolts create excellent electrical connections too. The pressure there could be really high. Wago connectors are a bless. In fact, the right pronunciation is Wago, because this is a German invention, and there the W is pronounced V. There is a special spring in any Wago connector, which spring applies the right amount of pressure on the wires. Wago connections cost a bit higher than twisted connections, but they are worth any penny because the connections are done much faster. Any Wago connector comes along with a certification for a specific amount of current which is safe to flow through it. Here, for example, the current is 30 amperes. This corresponds to nearly 7 kilowatt power in Europe and nearly 4 kilowatt in the United States. And this is a lot. Chandelier terminals are an old but extremely reliable way of electrical connection. Pressure there is applied by small bolts. Those terminals come also with a guaranteed current that can flow through them. The only disadvantage I can think about here is the time. It takes a bit longer to connect the wires. This is a very good method to connect different types of conductors. Multi-strand cables are flexible, but you cannot apply pressure there. Without a pressure, it creates a loose connection, and this could lead to a real disaster. Be really careful here. On the internet, I've seen tons and tons of videos showing some fancy ways of twisting multi-strand cables. Don't trust these. They may look amazing, but this is nothing more than a loose electrical connection. This is very dangerous too. Reason is the same. There is no pressure applied on the connection. This is a loose connection in a pure form. You can see such recommendations quite often on the internet, saying something like, even experienced electricians are surprised by this connection. No, experienced electricians are actually surprised by such stupid and clearly dangerous ideas. Again, it's always better to twist a couple of wires. Ugly, but safe. Never try to twist connect single-strand cables with multi-strand ones, under any form. The result is a sure loose connection. There are two reasons this connection doesn't work. The first one is that in the connection takes part a soft and flexible wire where you cannot apply pressure. Second, the difference in the durability of the cables creates inconsistency and additionally leads to weak electrical connections. Soldering is a bit specific. It could be applied in electricity, but only for improving conductivity. For example, you can solder a twist connection after it is made. Overall, it is not a good idea to solder high voltage connections because the charges there are really high. Often, the high currents cause heating and the melting temperature of the solder is quite low, and there is a danger of disconnection if the solder melts. Soldering is perfect for electronics, but electricity requires pressure. Well, I think I covered all of the main points related to the electrical connections. With this, I'm closing the video. I hope you liked the video. If so, like it in YouTube too. Subscribe for the channel, share, comment. I'd be glad to answer to all of your questions. And that's all for today, folks. Take care.